Welcome to Peri and Pause, the podcast, where midlife women get real answers about their bodies, their health, and what's actually changing. Because every woman deserves this conversation.
Welcome back to Peri and Pause, the podcast. Today I'm joined by Amanda Maingi, women's health nurse practitioner extraordinaire. And I say that because I know. She is one of our nurse practitioners here at Peri and Pause, and she comes with a strong foundation in midlife women's care, gynecology, has an extensive history in that, and she takes a deeply thoughtful, patient-centered approach with all of our patients, and we're super grateful for that. She's passionate about helping women feel heard, validated, and improving their quality of life. So thank you so much for being here, Amanda.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So let's jump right in. What made you want to do women's health? Because you are specifically a women's health nurse practitioner.
Yeah. So I knew from a very young age that I wanted to work with women one-on-one. You know, I grew up in a single parent household, raised by a single mother. I'm one of three girls.
Yes.
All female household, right? So I am no stranger to what takes a strong, resilient woman, and just, you know, growing up in that environment, but also just being exposed throughout my life. And then when I eventually did branch into nursing and bedside manner and things like that, how resilient women are and how truly, you know, they go through so many various life changes,
Yes.
you know, whether
Chapters, yes.
Exactly, chapters, and, you know, how gracefully they bounce back from one change to another. And, you know, women are amazing.
Absolutely. So I am going to tell a little secret about you, that you graduated at the top of your class at Georgetown University. So that to me tells me your drive, your passion, your self-discipline in education, in knowing, so you can take the gift that you have and share that. So tell me about your college experience, your graduate school experience, your education, and what did you think was missing, if anything, in the specific women's health NP program there?
Yeah, great question. So, you know, in terms of my experience at Georgetown, excellent women's health nurse practitioner program. I felt very, very prepared, you know, going out into the field, away from the books, and working with patients one-on-one. It really did come from a very holistic approach, you know, from the get-go. They really were all about, you know, whole person, whole woman care, and how to approach that with a patient coming in. Despite being a women's health specialized degree, menopause, I still got very limited education in it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we only focused on, you know, post-menopause for about a week out of my entire degree program. Okay. And even so, that's still so limited. Yes. If you think about, I mean, granted, how I'm trained is, you know, I can treat women from, you know, adolescence all the way to time of death, right? Yeah. But, you know, in that lifespan, in that life, throughout life transitions, you know, again, menopause was very limited in focus. And we know that women live a third of their life in this stage.
Or more. Yes,
exactly. Absolutely. And so to only have that limited foundation going out into, you know, our primary care and traditional GYN settings, you know, I was prepared, but I wasn't, you know. Yes. But again, Georgetown was a great program.
Yeah. So a lot of self-learning since being out in practice that you've done to better care for the midlife and menopause, perimenopausal and menopausal woman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. At what point in your career did you realize something was missing in that area, the perimenopause and menopause time of our life?
It was in my initial job out of school, traditional GYN clinic setting, you know, in that setting, you know, it was amazing at, you know, preparing me like in my efficiency and clinical decision-making skills, yes. But it's a very fast-paced environment.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you see a very high volume of people, which again exposes you to a lot, but it's very limited in terms of the time, which I know most people, providers will say is that their time is limited.
Absolutely.
And, you don't, unfortunately, that does limit you to being able to fully understand the patient experience and where they're coming to you from, the whole person again. So that gap was the longer I worked in this traditional GYN clinic, the more I was exposed to women coming in their late 30s, early 40s, 50s, even 60s, saying, I'm having these symptoms, something is not right. I've checked my thyroid. Yeah. I've checked, like my glucose levels. I've ruled out autoimmune conditions. Like I don't feel good though. And when it's the things that keep you up at night, right? Yes. Where it's like, you had that 15-minute time slot, you're running over that 15-minute time slot, and you lay in bed awake at night thinking, oh gosh, I could have done this, this, and this for her. Yes. And so I will say, again, kind of going back to education, Georgetown did prepare me in the sense that knowing how to research, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And being able to find good data and kind of extrapolate from that, like, okay, how can I apply this to clinical practice, that sort of thing. And so that's, I think, where the gap lies, though.
Absolutely. And I'm super grateful for that. For my DNP program at UNC Wilmington, that's the core of that, how to evaluate research, how to apply it. And it's a practice doctorate. So you can practice, you have the research, you understand how to understand it and apply it safely and whether you want to apply it.
Yes.
And then you give that feedback back to the PhD researchers. And this works, this doesn't work. That contributes to extra data. But I fully agree with that we understand how to interpret research, how to apply it safely based upon the woman. So yeah,
exactly.
Spot on that. Thanks for that. So what's the difference between caring for a woman in her 40s and 50s and caring for a younger woman in her 20s and 30s, you would say? What's the difference?
Yeah.
Like, think about, like, you have her in your head and you have the younger women. Again, there's a huge chapter jump between there, maybe 2 chapters in there, having children, wanting to have children, not wanting to have children, to having children, or career-oriented, what's going on with my body? Oh, I need to understand my body here. Like, talk about that difference.
Yeah, so I feel like when a woman comes to you in her 20s and 30s, you see that age pop up on your schedule. Yeah. It's typically, not always, but typically much more straightforward visit, right? And it's simply, at 20 and 30 years old, you just don't have as much life experience typically as your 40 or 50-year-old woman coming in.
Your hormones are nice and wavy.
Exactly.
The majority of them.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. Again, the majority, right? You have, again, a very cyclic rise, cyclic fall in your day-to-day. Granted, you have some fluctuations, but you're pretty much the same person like throughout the month, right? Versus when it comes to caring for a woman in her 40s and 50s, we simply don't have as much data during that time of a woman's life, to correlate her current symptoms to, right? Like, we have a ton of data on, what it's like when a female hits puberty, what it's like throughout pregnancy, right? But then she comes to perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause, and, it's often a very, under-recognized, under-researched area of, so in terms of, all of putting all those pieces of the puzzle again, and then doing the research to kind of, again, how can I best help this person, knowing there's a lot more at play at that stage of life that isn't just, oh, you're just stressed out.
Right. We are chemically as well as where we are in life, I think, as well. But yes, the research component is huge. I'm glad you brought that up because there's so much study in the fertility and childbirth, and it's wonderful. I love that. But then the difference is not every woman's perimenopause or menopause experience is the same. Generally, it's generally the same, but not the same.
Yes.
Because of where she is in life, where she is in the chapter of her life, her relationships, her career, her health, because our health shifts chronic diseases start creeping in.
Yes.
Or autoimmune diseases start creeping in. Exactly. Adverse childhood events start popping back in our head. Mm-hmm. Like it just makes us potentially more complex. Mm-hmm. What would you say are, since we're talking about stress, what would you say are common symptoms that a perimenopausal woman experiences that can be hormone related, directly hormone related, that are often labeled as generalized anxiety disorder or major depressive disorder, when it's anxiety symptoms, depressive symptoms? Like what symptoms do you see commonly when women come to you with those, more psychological symptoms that we label as stress?
I would say sleep disruption is a big one. Yeah, just waking up in the middle of the night, 2 to 3 a.m. I have no idea why I'm awake right now. But then once you're awake, brain starts
planning for the day.
Yeah,
worrying about yesterday.
Right, exactly. Going through that to-do list. Heart palpitations is another big symptom that women can have that can also be, you're just stressed. It's coming on with anxiety, things like that. Other mood changes, just again, being irritability and just an overall sense of overwhelm, right? Yes. Things that you once were able to cope with, you feel like you can't, this has always been a stressor in your life, but now it's like, I'm handling it differently.
Right.
Like, or I'm not able to handle it.
I'm angry about this. Why did I get so angry? Why did I pop off on my kid? I have women that will say, like, I ripped through my daughter the other day and I had to apologize to her.
Yes.
I had a woman come in last week and she said, the memes that are like, where you get mad at your husband chewing? She said, I took his plate and went, pew, stop chewing like that. Yes. And she said, then she was like, what am I doing?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. And then feeling out of control sometimes.
Feeling out of control. Yeah. Yes. I had multiple women, actually, their husband's breathing. They're sitting next to him on the couch. They're like, he's breathed the same for 15 years. Why is it bothering
50.
me now? Exactly. Exactly. It's like, why is it bothering me now that he's so loud?
Breathing.
Right. She's like, I can't just tell him to stop breathing, but I know.
Yeah, bless.
Yes, I know. You just want to give him a hug.
The husbands too.
I know everyone involved, the whole family, right? All of these mood changes, these sleep disruptions, the brain fog that can come on that are often attributed to stress. They may be stress related, but I think as providers, we can't overlook that there is likely a hormonal component there to the change in ability to cope with these life stressors. And, if we don't recognize that hormonal component, then we are, not providing women with, a treatment that could really help get to the root cause of, why these stressors are all of a sudden way more exacerbated than causing these symptoms. Yes.
Yeah. And it is reassuring. And what I will also tell women is that let's get this on board and then see how these new symptoms, new anxiety, new panic, new irritability get better. To what extent? Fully? Awesome. Partially, we have other treatment for that as well. This is where antidepressants, anti-anxieties can play a role. And it's nothing that you're dependent on. It just says, hey, estrogen, helps our serotonin in our brain. And these help our serotonin kind of stay in the right and left limits instead of just being all over the place, which in turn can make us, see stress in a much more magnified way. Absolutely. So there is a place for that also. Hormones, I wouldn't say fix everything by any means. But it sure does remove that component of the symptomatology of a midlife woman that's impacting her and allows us to see more clearly what is under that.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Jamie with Peri and Pause. We are passionate about midlife women's care during the perimenopause and menopause years. Women see an average of 4 healthcare providers before they find genuine midlife women's care. I started Peri and Pause to fill the gap that is midlife women's care. If you have felt a change in your body and don't feel like yourself, you've sought care, felt dismissed, unheard, or told labs were normal, but you still feel like your concerns as a midlife woman haven't been addressed as thoroughly as you would like them to be or that you deserve, that is what Peri and Pause was built for. This gap that's midlife women's care involves relationships, how a woman feels about herself, her performance at work, how she feels about herself as a spouse, a partner, a mother, a daughter, a sister. When a woman comes in and says, I know this is normal, but I need help. It's affecting every part of my life. I don't want any woman to feel like they just have to power through, or that there's no help for the symptoms. There is absolutely help for your symptoms. I don't care what your history is, medical, family history, everyone deserves this conversation. They return and say, I feel like myself again. Those are magical words. Every woman deserves this conversation. You do not have to suffer in silence, and that is why Peri and Pause is here.
How would you say that you approach the care you give here with a more protocol-driven practice that we've all worked in as nurses, nurse practitioners? Like, what's the difference? How are you providing care just through your own, without an algorithm? I don't believe in the algorithms that a lot of places do. I don't want to say I don't believe in them. They fit the majority, but how do you, I guess I'm trying to ask, how do you take the nuance in with each woman?
You know, protocols are important. They, they provide consistency, safety, and evidence-based care. But I think where, as providers, we can get hung up. You can't stop at the protocol, right? Yes. You have to look at the patient, the woman that's sitting in front of you, and realize that protocol is only going to take you so far. How can you individualize a treatment plan and come up with something that's going to serve her, what her current symptoms are, where she's at in her life, and kind of meeting her at her current experience versus, again, just stopping at the protocol. And it's not black and white at all.
No, checkbox. If yes, go to this arrow. If no, go to this arrow.
Right.
No. I mean, but you have that in your mind.
Oh,
for
100%.
certain things. Yeah. We appreciate all the nuance you give your patients, Amanda. Back to talking about algorithms. There are services that we're super grateful for as midlife women out there online, on virtual care platforms that, follow protocols to get this care to women. And I am so grateful for that. But talk about your experience with the difference between that type of care in protocols versus individualized care that you give to your women.
So we love a good telehealth, midlife women's service. It's an excellent, resource exactly for women, especially we're very lucky where we're at in the Triangle area, where we have so many options of brick and mortar locations of places you can go and sit with a provider and have these conversations, right? And, in some women in areas of the country, they don't have that option, right? So going through like a telehealth clinic is
for any type of care.
Is what is offered to them and available to them, right? Okay. Which is fantastic. But, in terms of midlife women's care at Peri and Pause, we're very high touch. We apply a much more personalized approach to how we develop a care plan for you. Protocols, again, very important, kind of get you started, but where the individuality of a visit truly unfolds and becomes layered is after we get past that and your initial chief concerns. What further questions can we ask in terms of, okay, you're not sleeping. Why? Is it because you're waking up at 3 a.m. and you don't know why? Or are you waking up because you're having a hot flash? You're waking up because you have to urinate? There's your husband snoring. What is it? Right.
Exactly.
And then at that point, you can kind of, again, layer in, all right, maybe hormone management and evaluation is a good fit for you. Is it more of lifestyle interventions? Is it sleep medicine and sleep hygiene practices that we need to talk about?
Is it a sleep study she needs?
Exactly. So I think
whole woman care,
right? And just not slapping, especially with hormone therapy, not slapping a patch and a pill on it and going about your day, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot more to symptoms often than just, again, patch and pill, right? There's other things on the market too that we can talk about if that's not a good fit for you in terms of hormone therapy options. So just, again, personalizing what treatment option is going to best fit this woman sitting in front of me.
Yes, perfect. So when a patient comes to see you, what do you think what is what you find women need most when they come to see you the first time?
To be validated.
Oh, yes. I was hoping you'd say that. It's so true.
I know.
I knew you were going to say that.
You did.
Yes.
that telepathy. Gosh, can you edit that out?
Take the fact that we can't speak and correct that. No.
So, to be validated, because I feel often, more times than not, women come to us, they're already drinking from the fire hose, right? They've already seen one, if not multiple providers, and felt either dismissed or not necessarily dismissed, but just, hey, this is a part of life. Every woman goes through it. And that is true. Every woman does go through this. Exactly. But we can provide support to help you optimize and feel like the best version of yourself through this season, right? Yes. You do not have to feel stuck in this shell of yourself for 2 years, over a decade in some women, right? So I think that's the biggest thing, is listening to women, hearing their stories, validating their concerns, and then again, coming up with an individualized comprehensive care plan to help meet her where she's at in this transition.
Right, exactly. I have women that come in that will share that they've been told what they're feeling is not real. And that is 100% not real. If a woman verbalizes how she is feeling the best way she can, it's true. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, how you're feeling is not wrong. It's true. And how you're expressing it is true. So let's validate what you're feeling, because you're not wrong.
Right. And just because you can't measure it in a lab test and detect that, this lab value is out of reference range, doesn't mean that there's not something going on.
Agree. And like we also say, we have menopause hammers, yes, but there are other things that cause these symptoms besides menopause, and we address those as well.
Absolutely.
While we have you with us, we look at the whole woman, and we tie up the loose ends. That's my favorite little phrase. All these little things we also look at to anticipate things in the future. That's true prevention, and also catch things that may be missed, like low ferritin or low vitamin D, because those aren't often checked, but we see them every day.
Right.
Low ferritin, low vitamin D, but also high ferritin, which would be an inflammatory process. And that's a whole other podcast.
Yes.
So let's go back to, what do you think the biggest misconception, I have my thoughts on this, on hormone therapy is right now?
Lots of misconceptions out there. Biggest one, I still think a lot of providers are under the impression that it is inherently dangerous for most women to take, and that it poses a huge risk to, again, cancer and cardiovascular risk. This is not the case, right?
Exactly.
This, just because you have a family history of breast cancer, or you yourself have, some clotting factor deficiencies or things like that, come talk to us, right? This does not mean you.
It rarely means that at all.
Exactly. It's not black and white. There are multiple treatment modalities that we can provide that, each kind of estradiol and progesterone comes with its own, risk, benefit, side effect profile. And again, we tailor that to your personal history, your risk factors. What other medications are you on? What else do you have going on in your life that can make this, we're keeping it as safe for you as possible, but also providing you with that symptom relief.
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to wrap this up. This is going so well. Last question, though. What can someone expect when they are a new patient getting ready to see you at Peri and Pause? Validation right out of the gate.
Right,
you know that.
Right out of the gate. That, I feel like that you'll be heard, right? Like come and share your story. You have the time to sit with us, and again, we look at you as the whole person. Bring your previous labs, bring your medication lists, imaging studies, things like that you've been working through. We do annual exam visits. That's what I did love about my traditional GYN clinic is, again, all that preventive medicine. It's so important, because what's happening to you in this season, again, you have another third of your life, if not more, to live. So let's set you up for success now to live your healthiest, fullest life after 40, 50, 60 years old, right? It doesn't stop there. So I just would expect to, be heard and
just be yourself.
And be yourself.
Absolutely. I see women with you do that. They feel safe. They feel heard. They feel truly, deeply cared for. And I love seeing you behind the scenes. And if any of you have seen Amanda, she is caring for you even when she's not sitting in front of you, and does deep work behind the scenes to stay ahead of all the research and know exactly how to plan and develop your care plan deeply and very nuanced to you. So I appreciate you so much. So glad you're a part of our team.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Yes. You're wonderful.
You're wonderful. If something you heard today resonated with you or helped you feel seen, your symptoms may be common, but suffering through them is optional. Every woman deserves this kind of care and deserves this conversation. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks for listening. If this episode helped you feel more informed or less alone, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another woman who needs this information. You can also follow us on social media for more education and updates at facebook.com/Peri